right, welcome back to Modern Mondays on a Friday here at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. I'm Travis Cooper, hanging out with Ian Lunger, and we are here watching our second match of round two out of four, and it looks like we've got Living End with Nick regular here. Both of these are regulars. Andrew, young person here that likes playing graveyard centric decks. That is on Living End, and played against Andrew several times. He crushed me on Dredge at I think our store championship, where he did I think one turn creeping shield me 4 times. It was pretty brutal. He has a great way of just putting his graveyard just like in this big pile in front of him. It's an experience to have, yeah.
And with the Ghidorah sleeves, which is very thematic, playing a monsters deck, you're just getting all those monsters out of the yard with some Godzilla monsters on your sleeves.
So Living In got kind of some upgrades in Neo. We've got the turtle now that can bounce stuff and can also return a creature from your graveyard, which to your hand, which is nice for Shardless Agent. So if you get your spell countered, Shardless Agent dies, you get to roll the dice again. And I don't think Yawgmoth hasn't gotten an upgrade in a while, right?
I mean, Lura's getting banned was Yawgmoth's upgrade, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. It feels like that Yawgmoth sort of broke out post MH2, but doesn't really use that many like MH2 cards. Kind of like existed as a deck beforehand. I think like Wall of Roots to me is one of the most. It's like a very iconic old school like modern card. Like people are playing Wall of Roots in like pod decks, and it's I always get excited to see it's not always an auto include in any deck that plays green, so it's neat to see that card being played.
Yeah, it feels like Grist was kind of the main upgrade that Yawgmoth got, and of course that at this point MH2 was a while ago.
Yeah, and Grist is great at like that. The Murktide matchup I think could be rough. Except by having Grist in your deck, it's just such a clean way to kill like a Murktide.
Yeah, and so many ways to tutor Grist up too. It's like you have access to that card so often when you need it.
Yeah, Zurich, we are doing kind of a test stream tonight. We usually don't do Fridays, but both Ian and I had this Friday off, and instead of playing, we're doing a stream to test out some new equipment, make sure things are dialed in. But yeah, we're starting up again. We were set back a little bit. We tried starting in the fall, and then Omicron happened. There was some construction too that Guardian decided to do while we were having to distance more, and it was sort of just a little too soon. But it looks like things are, don't want to jinx ourselves, but stuff is getting better, and we're going to be back Modern Mondays at 7 o'clock. It's a little bit later. It's a little later now. All right, turn 1 Hierarch of the ignoble variety.
Andrew's not even messing around. He's not like cycle 1 card, draw 1 card. He's like do 2 things, do 2 things.
Yeah, Living In seems strong against Yawgmoth because it doesn't destroy the creatures. It has this weird these are going into exile and then they go into the graveyard, so you don't get those undying triggers.
Pimar with a good point that Ignoble Hierarch was actually a big upgrade for Yawgmoth. Yeah, certainly a big upgrade. And, Yawgmoth's mediocre beatdown plan gets the job done a good amount of the time. And, just like what Noble Hierarch used to do, Ignoble Hierarchs helping out the little guys.
Are you calling Geralt's Messenger mediocre?
Extremely. And the fact that it's mostly become a one-of in these decks makes a lot of sense to me. Well, this is a disaster for Andrew.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a sideboard card. This is one of those examples of, I know that Nick's deck could play this because Nick wasn't playing Luris, but like Ashiok is a really good sideboard card that a lot of those decks that were playing black couldn't play because you're gonna play 1 mana Nihil Spellbomb type effects, but like Ashiok's a really strong sideboard card that I think we're gonna be seeing more of.
Absolutely. It's going to be potentially an absolute house here, especially depending on what Andrew's fetch land situation looks like.
Ashiok's a surprisingly versatile sideboard card, like great against Amulet, decent against any Saga deck, just preventing the search effect. It doesn't just win you the game against anything. It has limited usage with a Graveyard Exile, but just pretty surprisingly versatile, I think, in terms of decks that it is like a decent card against.
So we had 38 players that are here playing FNM Modern this week, so a decent turnout.
Yeah, we've been getting between like 30 and 50 players on Fridays and Mondays, sometimes as low as like 20 something, sometimes a lot higher. So Oregon is lifting their statewide restrictions for social gatherings with masking, etc. on the 12th. So kind of expect stuff to pick up a little more after that too.
Oh, that's an interesting question. My understanding was that Undying does not trigger with Living End, because I believe the creatures. Ooh, I don't have a good I don't have good rules rationale here.
All right.
In my mind, the creatures just like go to exile and then they appear in the graveyard, and it's not like they have died. Like Living End loves to get around the like creatures dying thing.
Oh yeah, and it does creatures on player sacrifice, so that would trigger Undying. It just exiles.
Oh wow,
creatures from the graveyard.
Okay, well that's fascinating.
We're shaking off the rust here.
I mean, I was always rusty with that. It's definitely new to me.
Yeah, we need to play cool, man. We're professionals here. Do you also know that Living End is a band? Because that's what happens when you Google Living End. Australian punk rockabilly band from Melbourne, formed in 1994. May have to give it a listen.
Okay,
I wonder if Andrew's thinking, is it worth it to get this Riverwinder into play? Huh. This is an interesting game here.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that Andrew dodged for the most part, was able to like play lands and didn't get destroyed by having all the fetches, his fetches turned off, is I feel like a big positive.
Okay, Andrew is just like, this is coming back into play, buddy, and Nick is making him go a little bit slower here. Okay, we got a response from Nick. I wonder if it's going to be a chord? No, just add the green. All right, still got the Ashiok trigger on the stack. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I'm noticing, I think Andrew's playing more or less a fetchless mana base with this deck. I don't think I've seen any fetches so far, which, beneficial in this circumstance.
All right, that's pretty good. Do you have a hexproof threat?
So if Andrew's debating force of negation here, that is not going to be a doable.
It is a grist is a 1/1 insect when it is anywhere except the battlefield.
Yeah.
The old draw then untap. Love it. Looks like Nick is just going to flood the battlefield here and try to slow down Andrew. It is interesting with Ashiok. Let's say if you have, if you have Shardless Agent, like they can activate Ashiok, but then maybe at the end of your turn you cycle 2 cards, Shardless Agent the next turn. So it doesn't just totally. Okay, we got a pointing out a reading thing here because there's a fabled passage for Andrew, and Andrew was going to sacrifice it, but Nick did a sportsman-like job of pointing it out and letting Andrew not sacrifice the fabled passage.
Well, that answers my question about the deck being fetchless, I suppose. There are a few, at the very least. And Andrew's got to be, you'd think that there's some Brazen Borrowers in this list, like some sort of bounce effects that might kind of be able to spring Andrew from this situation.
I mean, we did see Cryptics, so, I mean, can't play Cryptic right now, but...
I mean, at a base level, Andrew's kind of got to decide, are we racing here? And by racing, I mean running this into grist tokens continually. And it looks like yes.
Does not fly.
Nope.
Just a big old hexproof guy. Or, big old hexproof serpent. Creature serpent, maybe? River one.
Wow, Nick being very sporting allows Andrew to take back the play of the fabled passage.
Yeah, there's always, I feel like we got some really good, like, 12 to 16-year-old kids that come out and play, or young adults, however you, the youth, is that the right word?
Yeah, there you go.
We have some youth that comes out and plays at Guardian.
You got it, Travis.
And some of them are really good, and we used to have a younger person that would play here that actually like top 8'd a GP, and I feel like there's a certain amount of like, give some leeway, but also sometimes you got to be that's a way that like how you get better.
Okay. Is hexproof the one where hexproof you can target your own
correct
creature,
yeah
right?
Shroud is the thing where it has a bubble. Andrew
just cycled a Titanoth Rex, which I believe can put a trample counter on a creature. So it would have been very, very good for Andrew to have put a trample counter on this striped Riverwinder. I think that would solve a lot of the issues that Andrew is running into right now. Let's double check Titanoth Rex, because this may not be a line of text that Andrew is kind of used to thinking about with this card.
Yeah, I feel like the cards that put like ability counters on creatures are really not commonly played in Modern. That's more going to be a draft or standard or arena thing. So it's when you cycle, put a trample counter on target creature you control. So that's not an if. That's or a may. That's it. That it happens.
Do we have a responsibility
I think we have
to correct
a responsibility to correct it.
Okay. All right. Travis is going to correct it. As bitter as Travis and I are against the youth that constantly beat us at Guardian games, we gotta uphold the honorable side of things. Oh, okay. Andrew did in fact put the counter. I guess okay, interesting. So we did get a counter, it sounds like, but I guess it was put on after combat.
Yeah, it looks like Andrew realized that it should have been before combat, but Andrew does not have the ability tokens. So.
Okay.
I think that's like a punch card you got in draft
Oh.
packs. But so yeah, just so everyone's familiar, we are as most weekly events are. This is regular REL, and then this is in fact true even at competitive REL these days. There's a change a couple years ago where when you have triggers that are not May abilities, you can't miss the trigger. So if there's a May ability, you can miss a trigger, but if there's not a May ability, the trigger has to be put on the stack.
Andrew noting that Nick has a lot of stuff going on over there. Which is true. Yawgmoth's one of those decks that you can just kind of be... Sometimes it feels like playing against hardened scales where you're staring at it and you're like, what could I? And then you're dead.
Yeah,
before
so
you decide.
If you're Andrew, are you even caring about attacking Ashiok, or are you just trying to, like, attack Nick? I'm almost just on attacking Nick if I have a trampler.
I just don't think you're winning. I don't think you're winning that way. I
don't know, because you're not really, like, Nick's creatures are all going to come back. He has creatures in the graveyard now. I don't know.
I mean, this is certainly like this is a tough spot if you're Andrew. Like, you almost need to just land an endurance into a bunch of cyclers.
Oh, that's a good one. I guess that would be the blowout, is the endurance in response to the undying triggers.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna play a token game. Do you know where Nick's insect token is from?
Oh, I did not even think that was... Oh, it is an insect. I have no idea. Do you know where Nick's insect token is from?
I do not know.
It looks very custom.
It looks like cool clip art from, like, the 90s. Andrew was asking how many insects are in Modern, and Nick replied that the only ones in his deck are Grist. There's a few insects in Modern.
Yeah, there's the two little beetles.
Well, aren't the Infect has some insects, right? Pretty sure.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure there's some insects in effect. Insects in Infect. Delver. Delver's their insectile aberration, I guess.
I wanted to find my favorite.
And we're getting to the point where Andrew can just start hardcasting. It's always interesting when you're playing Living End, and then you're like, your opponent has more creatures in the graveyard than you maybe do, but you're like, well, I guess.
You can start hardcasting, but hardcasting into a Grist with this many counters feels pretty bad.
That it does. Unless they're more Riverwinders.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm more on board with this plan. I think Andrew's gonna have to find maybe like bounce spell into maybe just endurance into Living End.
Okay, you're deciding we're attacking here. It's like Andrew's deciding to swing at Grist after hearing what the -5 does.
Yeah. So before chat reacts to our clock here, our clock is not exactly accurate with the Guardian clock, so we'll wait till we hear turns announced, and then we will start tracking that. Although this may get the job done. Oh, interesting. So subtlety is actually not going to work here.
Subtlety works on a creature's spell, but Court of Calling is an instant, so it's just in play. Does that make sense?
Right. So Nick kind of going over that. Yeah. Cord does not give subtlety its window of opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like it's not many experienced players also made the mistake of like when subtlety first came out, or I've even seen it after it's been out a while, thinking it worked kind of like Venser did, where it would put something like that is in play on top or bottom, but it in fact is not that good.
Many players made the mistake of thinking subtlety was a good card.
It's true.
Agreed.
Many players and amateur financiers of Magic the Gathering made the mistake of thinking subtlety was the best evoke elemental in the cycle. Turns out,
and Fury was the worst. Boy, were many of us wrong.
And subtlety has its place, but it's more of a fringe sideboardy card. It's good against Amulet, it's good against some things, but it is in fact not the best, even in a very like creature-centric format.
Oh my gosh, I want to play Subtlety and Mill. Now I can do that because I'm not playing Luris. I can make bad decisions in Mill now.
I mean, is the bad decision playing Mill?
No. No. Who are you?
All right, 8 coming in. Okay, we're
My Yawgmoth, Yawgmoth, put a counter on my Springer guys. So it's basically going to happen is it's going to reset the counter and it's going to go to the Yawgmoth. And then I lose life to draw a card.
right. Nick can draw a lot of cards right now. I think
Yeah.
we're just looking for some kind of drain gain effect, like a Zulport Cutthroat here.
I think Blood Artist is generally the creature of choice. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement about Aethergust being the better sideboard card.
Okay, this is the payoff we needed.
That's in play. It's not so I get top and bottom there.
Subtlety makes the appearance.
Okay. Andrew got to cash in on this. The subtlety did a thing.
Yeah. Modern's been broken, everybody.
I mean, this is a very obviously
Yeah.
a very difficult spot for Andrew.
It's real rough.
I'll cast the Birds of Paradise. And then I will pass the turn. So it's turn 2 now.
Okay, so we are in turns.
I don't know. Call it my turn. I don't know if it-
So let's get to, we're in turn 2. You know, Travis, when you told me it was living in against Yawgmoth, I thought that we would have time between rounds.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
But I
there's
was wrong.
22 minutes left, or it looks like we might get game 3 might be pretty quick. But
This has been a banger. Ashiok gumming stuff up early. Andrew with the cycle Titan Rex.
yeah, we're gonna have to have some kind of interaction on Andrew's side because the powerhouse Dural's Messenger in Modern is.
Okay, this is interesting. So if Andrew's just all out attacking here, We are representing,
And then 4 damage.
I assume, Violent Outburst into Living End or Shardless Agent into Living End. I mean, I think we're representing some sort of board wipe to stay alive.
It just takes 1 damage. Yeah, I guess I'll put the Strangler guys here. 4 damage, I'll sack the bird, reset the Strangler guys. And then damage happens, and I take 4 trample. This guy's gonna come back.
Hexproof trample is pretty good.
Yes. Yeah, almost may have not even been worth it to block with the Geist there. Who knows? It only subtracted a single damage. I mean, I think Nick probably has this game rolled up a number of different ways, but
We're tapping the Wooded Foothill for a minute. Oh, we got
Yeah,
a
we got
Urborg
an
out.
Urborg
Okay.
out there.
There we go.
I'll play this.
so turn 3. Going for the messenger again, and if Andrew doesn't have anything going on here, that's gonna be game.
It's going to be pretty hard because once you have these multiple undying things out, it's choosing how and when to interact is really challenging.
Yeah, and as long as Nick's got life to give, he's trading 1 life on his side for 2 life from Andrew.
Correct.
I guess he's got to trade 2 for 2, huh? To
In response to the Geralt, you're gonna cast an outburst. Yeah.
Andrew casts a violent outburst, admits I don't know when to do it, which, you know, when you're playing against Yawgmoth, that's how I feel a lot of the time too. I don't know. I just have to I have to interact at some point.
This is pretty.
It's gonna resolve.
There's a living end somewhere.
That's a pile.
Maybe there's a living end somewhere.
I was like deciding before when I was milling myself if I should mill myself or you, because there's like a chance I hit the last living end if I mill you. Yeah, as it turned out, yeah.
I think there's more cards that need to get shuffled into that pile, but we're gonna notice that, I'm assuming.
So I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff in response.
There's
What those cards are doing.
We got a mess.
Also any greener? Or was that extra stuff? Yeah,
I just put them under there, you know.
No, this is very complicated matchup. I'm gonna. Yeah, I guess I could try to. I'm at 11.
So chat says living end is just worse crashing footfalls and requires setup for the effect.
I think it's more powerful than crashing footfalls, but less resilient, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, like sometimes like footfalls puts like you can just deal with like lots of decks can deal with 8 4/4s over the course of like 10 turns or something. But living end does have a lot more like when you if you are resolving living end, it's a lot stronger than resolving footfalls, but it is way the sort of backup plan B is much worse.
I'm interested to see if both living end and footfalls make a bigger comeback, with presumably Grixis Shadow being a little bit more out of the meta.
Oh boy. Oh boy. We got an evoked grief.
This living end's not going to look very good for Andrew, is it? It's going to be a whole lot of Nick getting a ton of creatures in play, and Andrew getting.
And I think a Drawl's Messenger is still gonna resolve at some point.
Yeah, I believe there should have been a message. Okay, we've got the messenger trigger. Okay, so we're saying the living end happened with the messenger on the stack
Yeah.
here.
That's a. And Nick is gonna have one more turn as well, so it's just turn 3.
Right. Andrew will have another turn, and then Nick will be able to finish things off, kind of in every sense of the word. I love how Andrew battled this game. It was definitely a tough situation. Fought back really well, but yeah, this does seem like an unbeatable situation from Nick.
Oh no. It was. There we go.
And it looks like Nick gets the match.
All right. I mean, that was pretty fun to see at the end there.
I don't think he made it. It was like a small mistake.
No, it was a big mistake because I would have gotten Santana Threat and Curator and Wager back. No, maybe not Wager, but those two back front end.
I thought that was kind of a cool last game.
Oh,
to
yeah.
see. Got a 2-for-1 there, 2 matches.
Yeah, that
in
was a
one
fun
round.
matchup.
Yeah.